to another episode of What's Going On, and I am Katrina G. Today we are downtown in Greenville, South Carolina at On the Rocks, and today's special guest is the multi-talented Miss Natasha Weston.
Thank you.
Natasha, over the past few years, you've been able to build your brand, the Toddy brand, under the umbrella of Eloquent Enterprises. That's your company, right?
Yes.
And you are just 26 years old, correct?
Just 26.
Just 26 years old. How did it all start?
Well, believe it or not, I started off as a nursing student, and I got about a year and a half out from finishing with my degree, and I decided to quit.
Mm-hmm.
Nursing wasn't what it was for me. It was not a passion of mine. I actually hated it. So I dropped out of college and went back home to live with my mom. And fashion is where it started for me. I wanted to be a fashion stylist.
Wow.
And I did my research, and I actually ended up in New York City. To fast forward a little bit, I ended up in New York City, and I got an internship with a celebrity stylist, and I also interned for a major television network in their wardrobe department. So after venturing into that specific career field for about a year, I decided I didn't want to do that either. It was not what it was what it seemed like. You know, it was just, it wasn't glamorous or anything at all. So I didn't want to do it anymore, and so I started venturing off into fashion public relations, and that was more of my thing. Behind the scenes, making sure that fashion brands up and coming were in the limelight, got in magazines, on blogs, and got the exposure that they deserved. So that's when I ventured into PR, and then that's when I started my company in April 2011, Eloquent Enterprises, and I started in New York City. So that's where fashion is where it started for me.
Okay, so what made you decide to finally launch your company in 2011? Was it your trip to New York that made you finally say, hey, it's time?
Well, that was the foundation, but I noticed that people were coming to me for the same services, and I said, you know what, why not make money from doing something that I actually like doing? And I started doing it for free. So that's what it was.
Okay, so a question or a statement that I want to make is, a lot of times people, they think of entrepreneurship and they think of having your own business, and sometimes I think it's sensationalized, and sometimes I think it's glamorized, and sometimes I think people really don't understand the effort that it takes and the sacrifice. So do you think it's sensationalized? Do you think it's glamorized being an entrepreneur?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I'll use today for an example. This interview we planned for about a month now.
Right.
And I don't care how much you plan for something, you have to always learn to improvise.
Right.
I had a makeup appointment.
Right.
My makeup artist fell through last night.
Right.
You know, I had to do a lot of things today on my own. My assistant was busy. She couldn't be here. So there's a lot of things that you have to learn how to do on your own.
Right.
And so, no, you know, it's not glamorous at all. Sometimes, a lot of times, I'm, you know, home behind the computer, putting in work on the phone, making phone calls, sending emails. So it's not glamorous at all.
Okay, so you've worked with several celebrities. How is it tough remaining humble?
I don't think it is. I don't think it's tough as some people make it to be. I think if you always remain true to who you are and just be who you are, you don't even have to think about if you're being humble or not, because you just are.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, social media. That's how we met, social media.
That's
social media is like becoming one of the best ways and the easiest ways for company to market, for individuals to network and connect with individuals worldwide. So how has the social media impacted your business?
Tremendously. We could go on and on about how many opportunities social media has provided for me. I'll say this, I got a lot of my internships through social media. And for example, I've worked very closely with Pete Jackson and Keita Williams from VH1's The T.O. Show. They're two power women in public relations, and they were looking for interns. And so I was on Twitter one day, I was following them, and I submitted my information, and a year later, I got an email from Monique saying that they were getting ready to do kind of like an initiation to find interns for their public relations company. So I went through, it started off with like 130 of us, and it eventually narrowed down to about 12 or 13, and I made the final cut.
Wow.
And so that's an example of how social media worked. I found that through Twitter. Another opportunity, when I was going through it in my transition from nursing to wanting to become an entrepreneur, I was looking for inspirational blogs. And one of the first ones that I came across was by Lauren Rottinger. She's the co-founder of Market America, Shop.com, and Modus Cosmetics. Okay. And she has a blog, and I found her blog through Twitter. And so, long story short, eventually I ended up guest blogging for her, and then later on, guest blogging for her company.
So how did that feel?
Amazing.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah. Amazing. One of the best opportunities ever.
Okay. So speaking of opportunities, have you been providing any opportunities in the community for young girls or children? That's one thing that I'm big on. Have you?
Yes. I have a nonprofit organization called Toddie's Reading Angels, and it's for little girls ages 3 through 6 who either have a parent that's incarcerated, mom left them, or, you know, they're disprivileged according to society. But it's for them, providing reading books and materials for young girls in the state of South Carolina.
Okay. So I kind of skipped over this, but I want you to tell everyone a little bit about your blog.
Okay. Table Talk with Toddie. That's really a blog that's everything that's me. That's entrepreneurship, business, fashion, social media, just a great combination of everything. And it's for that person that wants the best of all worlds in those arenas. And I only blog about things that I'm interested in and things that I think my bloggers would be interested in. And I started this blog about 1.5 years ago, and it's now at 20,000 plus views. And it's really a rewarding feeling because I feel like I'm giving back and sharing my knowledge with the community and with the world.
So your book, this is your baby.
It's my baby.
Okay. 10 effective ways to start your business with $0.
Yes.
It's pretty self-explanatory, but tell me a little bit about what we can find inside this book and how in the midst of you doing all of these things, how did you have the time to write a book?
Well, this book is really how Table Talk with Toddie started. I started my blog because I wanted to share information that I've learned over the years in business with my readers, with the people that really looked up to me, followed me. I wanted to have a place where I could share just valuable information. So it started off with a simple blog post. And it took me a while before I decided I wanted to write a book. I was actually halfway through writing another book, which is more about my life story.
Okay.
And I got pregnant.
Okay.
In my 6th month of pregnancy, I decided, you know what? I'm getting too many emails about, Natasha, how can I start a business?
Right.
So I said, you know what? Why not just take those 10 steps, those 10 ways, and put it into a book? It can be simple, it can be straight to the point, and it can be all about my experiences on how I started my business. I'm a professional at starting a business.
Right.
I've started many of them.
Right.
So it was perfect.